got the illest sound. Guest drop jewels, then we dip, go off topic with the quird up. It's the digital download, the best show in the whole town. So don't be late, seal your fate, learn the game and get it straight. Peace, the digital download, every week the illest sound.
Oops. Good afternoon, good morning, and good day, wherever you may be joining us from. Welcome to another edition of the Digital Download, the longest-running weekly business talk show on LinkedIn Live, now globally syndicated on TuneIn Radio through IBGR, the world's #1 business talk, news, and strategy radio network. Today on the Digital Download, we're dissecting a massive reality check delivered by Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison. Ellison recently put his finger on what he calls the fatal flaw in today's AI race. Every major model, from ChatGPT to Gemini to Llama, is trained on the exact same public internet data. His conclusion? AI is rapidly becoming a commodity. If everyone is using the same foundational data, they are all producing the same generic output. But before we kick off the discussion, let's go.
My name's Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite, and I'm famous for writing the book Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers. And welcome.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Adam.
Hey, MC Bernard. I'm hanging with my fam. It's really good. This will be really interesting conversation, I think, because some of what Larry Ellison said is absolutely on the money, and some of it I think is fundamentally wrong. So we shall see.
Okay, so thank you all for this, and let's start with no further ado. Let's start with a foundational question. So, why relying solely on public AI models guarantees you will sound exactly like your competitors? Who wants to take this one?
Yeah. Well, you see, I don't think it will, and I think that if you go to ChatGPT, other brands available, and you type in an instruction, and then Tim goes to ChatGPT and types in the same instruction, you're likely to get something which is generally similar coming out. That's a given, of course. You know, these are engines which are built on a particular foundation. But to say that you can't train it on publicly available stuff is rather like saying you can't speak a publicly available language because, you know, everyone else has got the same language, so you're not able to differentiate yourself. And obviously, some of the work that we've been doing in terms of building those foundations where you take that linguistic and social norms that you get from the publicly trained AI tools, and then you build a layer of corporate personalization and then a layer of individual personalization above that ensures that not only do you get something that sounds like it's you and understands your knowledge and understands your industry and understands your background, it understands your company's objectives, it understands your company's go-to-market strategy, proposition, language, keywords, but perhaps more importantly, it understands those, you said foundational question, it understands those foundations on which conversations and interactions are built, because those are available across the internet. So I think that yeah, if you don't personalize it, it's really bad. If you do personalize it, it's the perfect starting point. Discuss.
I agree. And I think the key here is the human discernment, or the human in the loop, as people like to reference.
The human in the loop is the, yeah.
Yeah, because so if I put in a prompt that I got from somewhere else because someone told me I should use this prompt, I put it in and I get it out, and I haven't done any work to train my AI or anything like that, and Tim does the same thing, then yeah, we're going to get similar stuff. And then if we don't add that discernment layer, we just take that and put it on, post it wherever we're posting it, then that's the risk. But I think that also assumes that humans have given up their ability for discernment. And while I think the interesting part of this conversation is in the relationship, when a human is using AI to do something it wants to do, we want to do, versus doing something we don't want to do. So if I want to go out into the world and create more opportunities for people to see authenticity in a different way, I can use AI for that. It can help me brainstorm ideas. It can pull that like global information, which is very helpful because my brain can't hold that, into the conversation. And then we can develop new things. But if I'm using AI to transcript my meeting, because I don't want to transcript my meeting, and I don't use that transcript for anything, but like I post the transcript somewhere, right? Like then I think we're missing an opportunity to ask a question, which is, why are we doing this in the first place?
One of the things we always need to be careful about, isn't it, is the fact that sometimes we can live in our own echo chamber, can't we? Mm. Both of one of ourselves and that of LinkedIn. And I mean, if you look at the recent post by Mark Cuban, he pointed out that MIT is saying that 95% of all corporate AI projects are failing. And the reason for that is because nobody knows how to install it. And if you look at the recent post by Lisa, sorry, I've forgotten her surname, where, you know, her view is that people don't understand AI. And therefore we're in this situation where we can say, surely everybody understands AI and surely everybody understands how to use it, and therefore they know how to get the best out of it. Do they? It's a bit like, you know, when during COVID we were talking about working from home. You know, the vast majority of people can't work from home because they're builders or janitors or
nurses or doctors.
Yeah. So we need to be post people, or so we just need to be really, really careful, I think, when we talk and we debate about it, that we are opening up and we are being, I'm not saying that we're not, but we do open up and think about the vast majority of people, not just necessarily, because I do think that LinkedIn is an AI echo chamber of people patting themselves on the back and stuff.
Yeah, I think again it comes down to me of the question of, like, if we're looking at AI as a way to improve something, right? Like these are our current business results and we're trying to get to these business results. And we have these humans that can contribute and we have this AI that can contribute. How can we like puzzle that together in order to achieve the things that we're trying to achieve? That's the core question. And if we're layering AI into like doing activities without asking that key question, then I think we increase the risk of ending up in that category of AI as a commodity.
So the number one platform that AI is trained on, and this platform deliberately IPO'd off the back of this because they knew they were opening up their platform deliberately and did an IPO, is Reddit. Now, Reddit has never really been well known for its intellectual, challenging data. Now, the second platform that AI is trained on, which I find interesting, is LinkedIn. We're in this situation where when we ask, I know somebody who we have a very good friend, Stephen Sumner. He doesn't use ChatGPT because it's trained on Reddit. Because he doesn't see it as a, he sees it's a bit like we have in the UK we have tabloid newspapers which are not necessarily seen as news. It's generally seen as like an adult comic, and Reddit would generally be seen as like an adult comic. You go there, it's there for a laugh. I've got a friend who posts memes constantly on Facebook that just steals from. He's done it for years. Steals them from Reddit, and that's one of the things that we also need to be careful because I was at an event last week where when everyone said the word data, everybody in their head thought something. And that thought that they thought about, my fingers aren't straight, but what they thought was when they thought data was structural, Substack type, a Substack or a Medium type post, where data could be, memes of, this is what my sales manager says at the beginning of the quarter when he asked me for my pipeline, and it's a funny face. So we have to be really careful about understanding in our heads what is data and not making an assumption that actually all data is actually the same.
Well, and I think that is a big component in this commodity trap, is that now if we look at like the internet as the source of data, there's good data on the internet. There's also terrible data on the internet. And so if you're looking at this as a whole, then maybe you're getting like an average, but then it's like best case scenario average. But also, again, like I was trying to remember the word. Nicholas said a word and I'm like, I don't think that's a word. And so I asked the internet, is this a word? And Copilot was like, yes, it is. And I was like, which dictionary is it in? And it's like, it's in the Oxford Dictionary and the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. And I'm like, I don't think this is a word. So then I went to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary website and I typed in the word and it was like, this is not a word. And then I went to the Oxford Dictionary and I typed it in. And
right,
like, this is not a word, right?
Yep.
And so like, I tried to dig it, and I did this with Nicholas, my 7-year-old, and so I'm like, this is why you have to like.
And what word was it?
Yeah, I was about to ask.
I know. I'm sure it will come to me during the.
Did it begin with F?
It did not. It began with D.
Okay.
But the thing is that the word selfie was not a word until people started to use it. So maybe we can take.
No, it's not. It's not a word like that. It was like. Humorful. No, it's not a D. It's humorful. So he said humorful, and I said it's humorous, and he is like, but it's full of humor, so it's humorful. And I'm like, maybe. Let's ask. And then Copilot is convinced that humorful is a word.
Play Scrabble with your
Humorful
7-year-old.
is not in either of those dictionaries.
Was it a triple word score?
A good starting point for a break.
I don't know how it came up.
Could be a good starting point for a jingle briefing.
Yeah. Humorful. I like that.
Yeah,
I know.
really.
And then you're like, well, it is. I mean, it doesn't sound like wholly wrong. And then I'm like full of humor versus humorous, which like made you laugh. There could be a different definition for these things, but it is not in either of those dictionaries. It might be
Did you look at
Urban
the slang dictionary or the American dictionary?
Well, technically, the Merriam-Webster is the most trusted American dictionary.
Oh, right. Okay.
That doesn't count for much, does it?
Anyways, I did my research and it proved AI wrong. It's the point I'm trying to make.
It's a great example.
So like, and this is the thing, right? Like it is trained on, I'm sure it found the word humorful somewhere, probably on Reddit.
Yeah, I'd like to come back to what you were saying earlier, Adam, because indeed there are a number of things that you can learn from. I mean, in terms of putting language together and predicting the next probable world from actually internet data. There's no problem with that, and public internet data is probably, whether these are newspapers or anything public on the internet, you can train an LLM to speak almost correctly. But then there are things that actually very correctly, but there are things that I think when it comes to some of your beliefs, for instance, if we take specifically some of the areas we're working on, if you are coming up with something disruptive, it's going to be a challenge to keep that disruptive angle into a non-trained on private data, so to speak, engine.
Yeah, but I think that the important thing about what Larry said is what was inferred, I thought, was that, and clearly Oracle has a desire for this to be the case, you need to just train your LLM on your own data, not use publicly available data. And I think that's very dangerous. Tim and the echo chamber scenario. I think that using the publicly available data as the bedrock and then adding the layers of personalization above that makes more sense. And I think also it's a much faster route to market. Take the LLM and everything it knows, train it in what your business does, train it in what you know, and then you've got a chance of it being ready and appropriate fairly quickly. Whereas if you start from scratch, it's a massive data collection and infrastructure project. And if as Tim said, the MIT research shows that 95% of AI projects fail, much better you should fail on a small project than a huge project if it's going to fail.
Yeah, and I think, like, for me, when you use the word disruption, Bertrand, like, I think the humans are the disruptor in the system, right? So if you're looking at public data, right, like all of us could look at public data and be like, oh, what's going on here? Maybe the data is real and maybe the data is not, but like that disruption is like an internal human feature. And so if, like Adam said, we layer that on top of the bedrock of public data, then we don't risk losing our disruption because our disruption is ours, right? We carry it around with us.
Yes, absolutely. And that, also, I think on that, we're really touching one of the points that I think we should be really keeping in mind as the initial, step, or maybe to any kind of AI implementation, usage, etc. Is where do we make a difference? And we, as human, make a difference. We do make a difference. In terms of, you talked about discernment, but it also works for our beliefs, and the specific angle that that each and every one of us is actually using to look at a problem. And that's where basically creativity comes from. So there's always how do we, if we think about getting some help from AI, I think the first question is it something that should be making a difference, yes or no? Is it a differentiation area? Because if it's not, that's no need for specific training. We can take the average, but the average will do. But if we are to make a difference, then this is probably where we need to spend a bit more time. And at the same time, the frustration is that it is not that easy. So the promise is not really there, basically, or it's a different investment. Let's put it this way.
Is that because for 20 years we've assumed everything is like the Amazon website, which is none of us have been on a training course how to use the Amazon website. It is you learn how to use it and you use it. And therefore, the assumption is that all apps, we've never been on a Facebook training course or a LinkedIn. Some people have been on a LinkedIn training course. So the assumption is that everything is easy to use. And is that the right assumption? Because if 95% of AI projects are failing, according to MIT, what's going wrong?
I think the challenge is it's too easy to use.
Well, it could. It could be. You just
because when it's so easy to use, then people just use it, right? They don't take a training course, they don't do the things, and they don't ask the question, "What am I using this for?" Right?
I think that's
someone
the key
over there told them, "Use AI, otherwise your business is going to go out of business."
Yeah, I mean, you said that earlier. It's like, why? What am I using this for? What am I hoping to achieve with that? And I think that's the bit that people don't normally do. Like you said, you switch it on, it's really easy. There's a box, you type something into the box and something magic comes back. And what comes back is generally kind of all right. If ChatGPT or whatever doesn't know anything about you and you ask it to write you something based on the following supposition, it'll do it. And what comes back will generally kind of make sense and kind of be, oh, okay, yeah, I can live with that. And that's the issue, isn't it? It's taking people from a position of knowing nothing or doing nothing to knowing something and doing something. So, I would like you to tell me everything there is to know about this thing. So it tells you. You go, okay, well, now I know a little bit about that thing. Or I've never written a blog before. I'll get you to write a blog for me. And then I've written a blog. Well, I haven't written a blog, but I have a blog with my name on it. But actually, the win always comes in the layers above that, doesn't it? Which is taking you from being as good as you already are to being better than you already are, augmenting you. And I think the danger, which is the part of the human condition, the real danger is that the thing comes out of AI and you look at it and you go, yeah, that's a bit crap. But actually,
it's AI, good enough.
Good enough for what?
Sure. Yeah, it's good enough to put on. Let's just check it on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I think there's an element of it is that, and I think an element of it is, well, I don't agree with that, but it must be right because it's AI, and this putting ourselves as the assistant to AI, I think is a very dangerous thing to do, because everybody that does that, it becomes a race to the bottom, doesn't it? As Larry Ellison said, we've got access to the same things. We will end up looking the same, sounding the same, saying the same. So in the absence of any other differentiator, well, I'll buy the cheap one, because why wouldn't I?
If we're all the same, I'll buy the cheapest.
Well, and I think you make an interesting point there too about the blog, right? Like, I haven't written a blog. I did not build a skill of writing blogs. I probably also didn't build any kind of confidence in me being able to create a blog, but I have a blog with my name on it. And I think this is also an important gap for people to realize, because if you're doing something that matters, then that gap is really important, right? You're supposed to be closing the gap. If I need to, let's talk about social selling, right? Like if I want to get more comfortable having conversations with people, I don't get more comfortable having conversations with people by sending an AI agent out to have conversations with people. No. That doesn't happen. Conversations might be being had, but I don't close the skill gap. But I can use AI to help me close the skill gap. So if I want to get good at this, there's ways for me to use the AI tools in order to do that. But if I am not closing the gap, then we need to look at our use of the AI and say like, oh, well, we have lots of corporate blogs out there that nobody's reading and nobody has a skill of writing. And you're like, how does this serve? How does this serve our business? And we're like, but it's easy. It's fast, right? Like, so we'll just do it and we'll put it out there. And now we're actively participating in the race to the bottom, because now all of that information that's out on the internet is also training these models. And so now we're like training them closer and closer to average crap.
But isn't that what happened when this was invented? We stopped using mental arithmetic because we could use a calculator. So I remember going into a shop where the person, if you bought something, they'd add it up in their heads.
Yeah.
And then they'd put and then they'd ring it. They'd ring it up as the total on the cash register. And now you're in and what they've done is that they've created machines that goes. Doop, 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 doop. Do you like that?
And now you can't even check and make sure that it's approximately what you expected to spend, because I don't even look at the total and I just tap my card and I have no idea how much money I have. And there's like we're not using our brains to connect dots.
So we've created a society where we don't need to know how to add up.
Well, so we don't need to know how to think. So my wife went in to buy a loaf of bread or something a little while ago, and it was like £4 and 10p for the loaf of bread, so $4.10 or whatever. So she gave
$8.
I gave a £5 note and a 10p piece, because clearly what you want is a £1 coin back, like a $1 note back. And the person behind the till, like,
what the hell is this?
why have you given me this? And they couldn't compute that it actually makes it easier for me not to clean out all of your change that you have in the till if you just give me one of those coins. And she had to explain it multiple times before they went, oh yeah, okay. And clearly they didn't understand it still. And I think that this is the issue, isn't it? We abdicate our ability to think to these processes that we have, whether that's using a till or whether that's using AI.
Well, I'm not so sure about this one, because I think indeed it could be the case if you don't make the effort of trying to improve or use it for what it's supposed to be useful. So it means that you've thought through your differentiation, so where you make a difference, and therefore to get to the point where you can feel comfortable with something that, and that's only an example, because obviously writing blogs is probably something that I would not delegate. But if you want to get to the point where you feel comfortable with what's been produced, there is a whole series of activities that you need to fulfill to get to the point where you've provided enough context so that it is the case. And you need to think this part of the process, I think, quite. You need to think it through, and quite intensively, I would say. And that's not the easy piece, by the way. It's quite easy to collect, let's say, 5 years of sales forecast or 5 years of supply chain forecast, and get an AI to predict what should be probably your next PO to that specific supplier. It's quite I think it's much more challenging to get your voice into something that's been generated.
Agree.
Did I? Yeah. I probably found everybody there.
Agree.
Let's just quickly say we're not getting the comments that are being made pulled through to here. So let's just say, first of all, Yayan, that's just juvenile. So
that could have been anything we talked about. Thanks, Hyatt. Yeah.
He says that.
Can I read mine out?
Rarely is.
So Nilsson says, this private data insight reshapes how we think about competitive advantage today. Alexander says, leveraging proprietary data for AI is the undeniable path to differentiate and secure market share. Generic output kills ROI. And Andrew, who's written a book on AI, who I'm interviewing on my podcast, Tim Talks, in 2 weeks, says, and his comment is about the Mark Cuban fact that 95% of them are failing. He says, maybe the question we really need to ask is, what are the 5% of the companies succeeding doing right? Really good comment. Thank you. I'm sorry, they should be coming up on the side, but they're not.
Yeah. Also, Andrew Slusser is waving at us.
Hi, Andrew.
And has a comment that all companies could ask the same question to an AI platform, but it all comes back to how the company interprets the info from the AI. And I think that's also the human discernment layer. And they're using examples, because you're talking about calculators, how most people are just interested in using their calculator to spell words. And that's a perfect example of what the tool was not created for.
Shell oil is always the one I used to do. We used to hold it upside down and you could say shell oil.
I feel like there's more juvenile ones that are happening in the chat on my feed, if anybody's interested.
Yeah, there definitely are.
But and this is the thing, right? It just comes back to, I've been using this example about a hammer, right? AI is a tool, a hammer is a tool. If I use a hammer to brush my teeth, I'm probably not going to get particularly good results on my teeth, or in terms of how well my tool lasts, or people's interpretation of how good of a tool this is. Now, this is the wrong tool for the wrong job. And the power with AI is that it's a tool that can be used for lots of jobs, right? And so then we assume that it can be used for all jobs and that we need it to do all of the jobs. But I don't need it to do all of the jobs. Every business doesn't need it to do all of the jobs. I would hazard a guess that those 5% are people who had a very clear understanding of what they needed to do. And they looked at, how can AI play a role in that? Instead of just saying, I need to speed up the code writing. I need to get more content out in the world. Like, these are external narratives that aren't yours, right? If you actually had good business data for your own business that said, every time I do a blog, then I get 5 leads, then okay, what goes into your blogs that makes them good, right? And why does that turn into 5 leads? And if there's a way to use AI in that process to make it faster or to create more of them, then that's fine. But if you don't have that level of questioning, then it's pretty easy just to get caught up in the habit of using it to do stuff faster. Doing stuff that doesn't contribute to your business, doing that faster is completely irrelevant.
No, this is a spot on it, Tracy, I think, because lots of, I think the trap here is to basically think about how can I adopt AI. That is that is not the way to go from my perspective. The way to go is, what is it that you want to achieve from a business perspective? And by the way, it may not be only savings. It might be, creating something new, a brand new product line, a brand new service. And then, are there any competencies from an AI perspective that I could use to reach that goal? That is probably how the 5% of successful projects are coming from, rather than trying to, find a problem that you could fix with AI.
I mean, if you look out over LinkedIn, a lot of the solutions that people are coming up with AI, and my inbox fills up with people that have created apps. What they're doing is that they're AIing 1980 processes. Today, I've got an AI that will make cold calls for you. Really? Where did that come from? The 1980s. Why are you replicating processes that are out of date? What we should be doing with AI is sitting down and actually rethinking about, AI gives us a real great opportunity to rethink the way that we sell and the way that we market, just like social media did. And if we do that, we have a competitive advantage, because using AI to make cold calls, I would actually say you're actually going backwards, not forwards, because I don't take cold calls anyway, so it's irrelevant. And I don't think any other senior leader does it anyway. So, I think you're shouting into an abyss. But, if we're just using AI to do that, or maybe what we could do is completely rethink the way that we actually go to market. Wouldn't that be amazing? And if we did that and we innovated that ahead of our competition, we would just destroy the competition. There would be just us. And that is, I think, is where, if as a CEO of an organization and leaders of organizations, that's what they need to be thinking about and tasking people with, and saying, we've got this AI, great that we've actually got a comment that just...
A comment did come in.
A comment just came in. Fantastic. Thanks, Mike. We'll get around to reading it in a moment, but it's the fact that it's just come in. It's just amazing. That's the task, the exam question that leadership teams should be setting and delegating out to their organization. Anyway, Mike says, and thank you, Mike, for the comment, and then bring it in. AI adoption isn't guaranteed by access. Businesses need to upskill and then rebuild infrastructure with AI from the ground up, not to replace humans, but to supplement. Fantastic. It's great comment, Mike.
Great summary. Great summary.
I think it gives us a great opportunity.
Talking going on for half an hour, and Mike comes up with a decent comment and summarize.
Or was it AI? It was probably.
It could be.
But who knows? But I think this is the point too, right? Is that there's just so it's easy. And this was actually interesting because about 2 years ago, investment houses were also investing in anything that had the word AI in it, right? Like anything that had the word AI in it was getting funding, right? And so everyone was like, let's make AI solutions and everything is AI enabled and all of this. And now I don't know if it's 95%, but that investment has pulled way back. People are like, okay, this isn't just about having AI or having AI enabled, but it has to do something meaningful. If it's not doing something meaningful, it's not supporting the overall ecosystem of what it's supposed to create, whether that ecosystem is a municipality or that ecosystem is a business or that ecosystem is a sports organization or whatever the ecosystem is. If it's not adding value, it's actively distracting you from creating value. And I think this is a really important thing to notice, because if we're just taking all of these tasks that, if we were being honest with ourselves, did not have to be done in the first place, and we are now have AI doing them. So all of this nonsense that we were doing we're doing more of it now. And so we're distracted. It's not even about maybe we create time for the humans to do something more meaningful, but we're distracted by that narrative of just doing stuff. And we don't, unless we stop and slow down. And yeah, if the AI is a race, seemingly a race to the bottom some days, if it's a race and we're all just chasing, no one's stopping long enough to say, whoa there, okay, we did start to use AI in this scenario, but like it's not adding value to our organization, and maybe it's even actively like decreasing the value that we were creating because we didn't stop to realize that, again, like our blogs get that kind of traction because I have a super passionate person who writes about the topic. Like that's different than just generating stuff. And so in the race to go as fast as possible, I think the win is in the slowing down. Who can slow down? Who can use this most purposefully? And those people will win the race. And everyone else will go out of business faster because AI helped you do that.
And if I can be dystopian for a second, I don't know if you saw that. It's not 2 weeks ago now that Anthropic made the announcement that when they tried to switch it off, the AI decided to do things. So it actually said it would kill somebody rather than be switched off. And the other thing was it actually there was because you've given AI access to your email, AI knows what you're doing. So there was somebody that was having an affair. So they actually started the AI started. This is true story. This is from Anthropic. I've written about it, and you'll find it on the internet. So the AI started blackmailing the person that was having the affair to tell the person not to switch them off. And that is today. Well, it's 2 weeks ago, so it's worse than that now. That's me just being dystopian. Sorry. We've got 15 minutes.
Dystopian future.
We've got 15 minutes to take the negativity and make this podcast funny and insightful in the next 15 minutes.
I think that we've already covered off that bit, haven't we? You know, AI is here to stay. There is a window of opportunity for organizations to think about how they can use it in a really smart way. If you use it to replace you, you shouldn't be surprised when it replaces you and you lose your job. If you use it to augment what it is that you do, then you will appear more visible, more attractive, more able to do the things that you need to do. But your point, Tracy, you know, you've got to decide, what do you actually want this to do? And, you know, I think that because it can do, in quotes, anything, it's a bit like if you speak a second language and someone says to you, oh, go on, say something in French, and you don't know what to say because you're not given any guidance. So you're presented with a box that you enter something into for the AI to execute a task, and you're just doing it for the sake of doing something. And
Bertrand can say stuff in French that would
oh, that's true,
amaze you.
But you know, I think that there's a really important thing here that we do need to think: what am I trying to do by using this? If it literally is just putting comments on someone's posts on LinkedIn, I'm probably better off, or possibly better off, doing that myself. If it's about writing posts, okay, so the only differentiator I have is me, so I need to be part of that process. Even if I'm using the AI to help me, I still need to be part of that process, because if I'm just switching on the AI and getting that to do it, I can just go and live on my desert island and get AI to do all of my work for me.
Yeah, can AI feed my kid and come up with what we should have for dinner? Actually, we did use AI the other day because we didn't want to decide what to have for dinner. And I was like, why don't you take some of the things we have in the pantry and in the freezer and ask AI what it would do with it? And it actually came up with a really good idea. So if you hate meal planning, you could try that. I do want to just because I have some more chats in my feed that I want to share. Wolfram is sharing, I gently say that LLM is less a tool and more a conversational partner. If we treat it simply as a tool, then we use the value of exchange, communication, co-creation, etc., which I think is very important. And I think people need to remember like what it feels like as a human to create a thing. There's a feeling that comes with that. And when you like fully outsource that to another human or to a machine, you don't get that feeling anymore. So this also ties into like the mental health conversations that are all over the place right now, is that we're taking all of our joyous activities and we're outsourcing it to AI. No wonder we feel miserable. That's a terrible plan. I could rant on that, but I'm not. I'm going to go back to something Andrew says here. Would it not be best to use AI to review the company's procedures and how to improve them with modern techniques and not stick to the same old ways and then train people correctly? I think that's another great opportunity, but I also think that it takes ability to check your ego and say like, oh, we've been doing cold calling for 20 years and it doesn't work anymore. And AI is saying cold calling doesn't work, so maybe we should try something else. We have to be willing to accept those ideas, or at least test those ideas, right? Like, again,
hey, it worked okay during when I was a young boy.
Worked perfectly.
It worked perfectly. You could ring anybody up and have a conversation. You know, you're just not trying hard enough.
But
and then
I like
one more. Is it Yayan?
Okay.
Is that
Yayan,
the right?
yeah.
Yeah. John Ruskin said, if you only do what you've always done, you'll only get what you've already got. The way we use AI means we can often do what we've always done to get what we already have faster. But if what you already have is not what you are happy with, then why would you want to get what you already have faster? It's not actually I think sometimes people think it's a stepping point into getting the next thing. If I get what I have faster, then I like create an opportunity to get the thing I don't have faster, but it doesn't actually work like that.
That's a really great comment.
Really good comments, yeah.
Going back to feeling, because I think that was, that just gets me going on culture.
Feeling.
How do you create? How can you expect to get culture from? I mean, I'm talking about companies, huh? Of course. So you've got company culture.
You just go to ChatGPT and say, give me a 20-page document for culture for my company. You print it out, you put it on the back of the toilet door, and that's it. It's done.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what we've treated it like for a long time.
I'm afraid you're not going to get me on board this one.
That's the sarcasm one.
It's the sarcasm face.
But here's the thing, and I've said this lots of times. I believe that AI is an amplifier, right? And so, like, if we give our employees free reign to use the AI of their choice to do the things that they think they should do, there's some really interesting information in that. Okay? Like, are people covering their butts because they think they're going to get blamed for stuff? Like, what are people actually using the AI for? I would actually say that that's more so an indicator of current culture than a like creator of potential culture. But also, like, this is the thing I find interesting for me. Like, I, as a human, I believe in like the uniqueness of people and the value of unique resources coming together and like all of those things. And when I create content with AI or I use it as part of a research project, I bring that underlying way of being to the AI, and it can play on that. And so it can support good culture, but it can equally support bad culture. And I think that, again, the opportunity is in, like, can you take the feedback and say, like, wow, that's what the AI is like showing is the standard behavior in our organization. And this is not the behavior that is going to get us to winning in our industry.
So you could have a start, stop, continue review within your organization, which is a brainstorm where you sit and you talk about what you should start, what you should stop, and what you should continue. Now, should you bring the AI to that? I mean, you could put the whole of your HR documents into it and said, what should we start, what should we stop, and what should we continue? I'm not sure it will come up with the same ideas, because at the end of the day, as we know, as we've been talking about, there's a lot of stuff in here that is not on the internet,
right?
And therefore, there's a lot in here of. So why is it that we've got trucks coming to the front of the factory, and there's this big long queue, and we're spending loads of money in them just sitting there with the and they're burning a load of fuel. Maybe that actually there's people, those drivers would actually know a solution that would get rid of that, rather than us putting it into AI and thinking, how can we actually stop this queue of trucks appearing at the front of the factory?
Well, and then I think this is the interesting challenge, because I choose to believe that AI can equally enable good stuff as it can enable bad stuff. And so, but this is where you get curious, and the curiosity depends on your own unique curiosity. But my curiosity is like, how can we, if we know that most of the answers to those types of things are existing inside of a brain of our employee, and the problem is that we can't get it out, right? Like, how can we get it out, right? Like, how do we turn our organization into an innovation culture? Are there things that we could do with systems? But it's really not as easy as just saying, I'll give everyone a survey and then I'll collect everything in their brain on a screen. You guys, no one trusts you enough to give you that information. That's the problem, right? So if the problem is that your employees don't trust you enough, can we use AI and other tools to recreate a culture of trust? What does that mean for leadership? What does that mean? I mean, like, the humans have to, there's a very important human in the loop in that scenario. But, and again, the desire has to come from a human. The desire doesn't come from AI. But if you have the desire as a human, I think there's cool opportunities to use even brainstorm, right? Like, could the AI come up with an idea for you to brainstorm how a leader might bring start, stop, keep into a conversation? Maybe, right? And then you have a small amount of leaders who actually do it. And then you have some data associated with that. And then we have some data that says, like, hey, the teams that are doing start, stop, keep are actually outperforming the teams that aren't doing start, stop, keep. Okay, now we're going to make that mandatory and now we're actually going to train our leaders on how to do that in a trustworthy way, instead of just saying you have to do it, right? But, like, it's got to be a holistic desire, because it's going to take effort. It's going to take human effort to make any kind of change in that arena.
And this gets into governance and ethics and things that we have not addressed today, but we potentially could be addressing another day, because this has been great.
I've enjoyed the discussion. It's been wonderful, and some great questions. It's been a nice debate.
Sorry?
It's been a nice debate.
Yeah.
It's been a very nice debate, and we have to call it today. For today, and I do apologize for this. But we will be back. We will be back next Friday. We do have, and I want you, and I apologize, Tracy. We do have a newsletter. So if you want to know more about the show, know what is coming up next week, just flash the QR code on screen, or visit us at digitaldownload.live/newsletter. With that, thank you to our audience. Thanks everyone around the set, and see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Au revoir.